Welcome to On the Move.
And members of the jury, at this time I'd ask you to direct your attention to Mr. Randall, who will be giving his initial closing argument on behalf of the plaintiff, the City of Vancouver. Mr. Randall.
Just before I begin, on behalf of the court, system, defense counsel, myself, we understand that it's not easy to take a day off and come to court and be a member of the jury panel. It's even more difficult when you have to do 2 days. So we do really want to thank you guys for your service to that. I'm going to end kind of where I began, and that this is a case about being criminally irresponsible and insensitive. Now, when you begin deliberating today, you do not have to leave common sense at the door like Mr. Worley did on June 29th, 2013. Now, I know the judge just went over some of these jury instructions with you. You will have these when you go back. There's always a couple that I like to point out. I'm just going to go over again. And the first one is, you have nothing whatever to do with any punishment that may be imposed in this case. You may not consider the fact that punishment may follow conviction, except insofar as it makes you careful. The other one is that I'll go over right now is the to convict instruction. I think it's been pretty well established that these events occurred in the City of Vancouver. That's one of the elements that the city needs to prove. Also, element number one is not really in high dispute today, and that is whether or not the defendant did carry, exhibit, or display a firearm. We saw a video, we know that he was carrying an AR-15 rifle. So the main issue, and what we've been arguing yesterday and today as well, is did he do so in a manner and under circumstances and at a time and place that warranted alarm for the safeties of others? And you're going to have jury instruction number 8, 9, and 10, and they kind of help provide some guidance on that. And it says that the mere open carrying of a semi-automatic rifle in public is not illegal, insofar that it does not warrant alarm for the safeties of others. And that warrant alarm for the safety of others applies to conduct that poses a threat to others. And the key thing here is it's a reasonable person standard. What a reasonable person in the circumstances that was presented warrants alarm for the safety of others. And we have officers that responded to a 911 call. We heard First Officer Rollins testify that he believes at least 5 or 6 other officers arrived. We heard Officer Donaldson testify that he took a cover position. We also know that there was a security individual for Big Al's who responded and reacted to this situation caused by the defendant. He had to put his entire facility into lockdown. And we heard him explain what that is. They do that whenever there's a potential threat for the safeties of others. And we also had a Burgerville employee testify. And we had her testify that she was concerned for the customers in the restaurant. She wanted to get this individual out of there as quick as possible. She didn't want to create any additional incident. So she obliged him with conversation, took his order, and watched him leave about a minute and a half later. The big thing today is the time and place. Was it appropriate at that time and place? What kind of establishments are open in that area at that time? It's a Saturday night. Now we heard the Burgerville employee, Ms. Poser, as well as Dustin O'Brien, testify what it's like on a typical Saturday night and around that time. Families are coming in. What are those families expecting? They're expecting to eat burgers and fries. And what they're not expecting is to see an individual come in with an AR-15. What they're not expecting is to see that individual carry that loaded gun with a visible magazine. Now, we saw the video and we saw him encounter several individuals. And it's not going to come as a shock that there was a world beyond what that video captured. The world did not just end here and here. There was things that went around. Now, even Mr. Worley testified that he never interacted with Mr. O'Brien. And I think that's important. I think we talked about this in Boy Dear some. First off, people react differently in situations, and people also react differently to fear. Now, the individuals he confronted, he was able to inform them what he was doing. Now think about all the other individuals, all the cars in the parking lot, all the people, the families, the kids that were around, that he did not confront. They had no idea what he was doing. All they could see, they had no idea what he was doing. The other thing I think that's important is, because it's a reasonable person standard, gun violence has changed a lot recently. And because of that, when they see someone, as you heard them testify, carrying an AR-15, those are things that are going through their head. Now, defense counsel made a big point to bring out what Mr. Worley's intent was. His intent was to educate. His intent was to make a video for his YouTube. It is important because it's not what Mr. Worley knew about his gun. Sure, Mr. Worley was in the armed services. He was in the Air Force. He's familiar with an AR-15 rifle. There are a lot of other individuals who are not familiar with this style of gun, who are not used to seeing this when they go to a Burgerville. And make no mistake about it, no one's alleging that he went into Big Al's, but he's in a parking lot that hosts several establishments. There's a McDonald's in that area. We saw that by him first trying to go there. We heard that there's a donut shop, a yoga shop. We heard what Big Al's hosts. Mr. O'Brien described it as a family fun center. There's arcades, there's bowling, there's a restaurant, there's food and drinks. So he's carrying this gun around, and again, as I stated earlier, yesterday, we're not trying to hide anything. No one is saying that he went up to someone and pointed the gun at them. No one's saying that he verbally threatened anyone with this gun. But that's not what you need to decide when you're finding him guilty of unlawful display of a weapon, is to do so in a manner and under circumstances that would warrant alarm for the safeties of others. You heard him testify, Mr. Worley. He had 30 live rounds in this magazine, but yet he's out there only to educate. You also heard him testify that he did not feel threatened, so he wasn't going out there because he felt threatened, and that's why he was exercising his right. He went out there to educate with this magazine inserted in that gun, and again, it was slung over his shoulder. And again, he knows what his intent was, but others do not. Others, as you heard testify, are thinking what they've recently heard in the news. That this is not something they would expect to see in that area. Because of all this, because this again occurred in the city of Vancouver, again, there's no dispute that he was carrying an AR-15 rifle, but because it did warrant alarm for the safety of others, and we know this because of the testimony, again, how people reacted. A lockdown, a 911 call, several officers arrived. The employee of Burgerville, immediately after he leaves, notifies her manager. We heard her get into kind of how she described how it made her feel. Chest pains. We also had a little bit of testimony regarding from the security officer regarding seeing some people jog rather quickly from the same parking lot Mr. Worley was in. Now, for all those reasons, the city is going to ask you to find him guilty of unlawful display of a weapon.
I'll be detained right now, officer.
Let me see your ID.
No, thank you.
What's that?
No, thank you.
No, thank you?
No, thank you.
Okay, why are you saying no, thank you?
I know it's my Fourth Amendment right. I don't have to show you my identification. Okay, so you're not going to answer. Okay. What's your badge number?
1382.
And your name?
Devlin.
Devin. Cheers.
1375.
Name?
Trey.
You do know that you're required by law to actually give me your name when I
I just
ask.
did.
Really comfortable too. That's one thing I really like about this bag is the comfort level of it. But anyway, so let me move on here and we'll start showing the back here, show the features. First thing first here, we got the front of it.